Hi, well I hope you all are having an awesome day today. I want to share with you some of the small abstract paintings I've created over the past year. And when I set out to make these paintings, I use them kind of as places to experiment and take risks. Because since they're small, I'm not wasting a lot of materials, so I just try out different things, and sometimes when I happen upon something that I really like, then I will decide to make it into a larger painting later. I love making these small paintings because it's just really fun to not have any judgment on myself, not have any preconceived ideas of where I'm going with the piece, just having fun. And for me, it kind of takes my art practice back to where I began as an artist. Also, I would like to add in here that all of these paintings are for sale. They're all less than $100 and shipping is really affordable in the US or even internationally. So if you're interested in any of the paintings that you see in this video, there's only one available. I'm not making prints of any of them. So if you'd like the one that I show in the video, go to the description below. The links are all there. This one I call early morning because I think I was up at like 5 a.m. making this thing. And so I said aptly so. It's kind of how my mind was in the early morning. And at the time, this was like earlier in the year, it's 2021. I always sign them on the back and have the title on there and everything, but I also sign them on the front usually, but this one I don't think I signed on the front because I couldn't find, everything was so near the edges that I couldn't find a good place to really put my signature. So this particular piece is only signed on the back, but most of them I try to, even though how small, I try to squeeze in the signature. But what I loved about this piece is I was studying Basquiat, and so you can kind of see a little bit of Basquiat in this piece. And also what I really love about it is I was playing with how thick I could apply a paint to the canvas. It's very thick. It's awesome if you run your finger across it because you can really feel it sticking up a lot. And I wanted to see just how thick I could apply it, how if there were like little spiky areas, like if I could get them to continue to stay up after the paint dried. The other thing about this piece that I really like is that I experimented with putting pastel on top of it, so oil pastels. So this is a mixed media painting actually. And one thing I discovered is that if you touch the oil pastels, like they're never gonna dry like acrylic paint does. And so I don't know if you can see my hand, but I was rubbing my fingers over it and there's a little bit of a kind of a black dust on there because the black in this one is where I used the oil pastel. So it would kind of be like if you would do an oil pastel drawing, if you touch it, I mean, there's going to be a little bit of it come off. And I researched online and they said that if you varnish them, the varnish doesn't really work on top of oil pastel. So I was like, well, the only thing I can do is just leave it like this. But it was kind of a lesson learned, and that's why these pieces are a little bit experiments in the sense that this piece will never be able to be touched and messed with a lot by viewers. So when I sell this, it needs to go directly to display in someone's home where they're gonna take care of it. Maybe not displaying at an art fair where people come up and like rub on it a whole bunch because the people rubbing on it could actually destroy what I created. This one is another Basquiat-esque painting. It's called A New Day. You can kind of see how it looks on the back. And I painted around all the edges like I do on all the paintings, even if they're little. This one I was also experimenting with thick layers of paint, or impasto, which is what it's called technically. Some of the paint here is sticking up. I don't know how well you can see it off the top of there in the video, but it doesn't stick off the top of the canvas quite as much as the one that I showed you previously, but it's still quite a lot. And this one also is considered mixed media because it has oil pastel. It has orange oil pastel and a little black oil pastel in there. So I wanted to experiment with some different colors. So even though I signed it on the back and then this way it would be the way it's supposed to be hung, or the way I intended it to be viewed, what's awesome about abstracts is that if you purchase this as you hang it on your wall, if you kind of get bored with it after a while or you want to kind of change things up, you can just rotate it a little bit and then it becomes a little bit different. This one is called The Hunt. I'll show you the back here. What I tried to do is I tried to think of all of the different animal textures and things that reminded me of like big cats, but I wanted to make it look abstract, so you can kind of see cat spots in there and stripes and maybe claw marks or something. It has kind of an organic feel, and that's really what I was going for, just to experiment with putting all these different kind of fur type textures or patterns from big cats in there, just because I love cats and I wanted to try to experiment with that, and so I called it The Hunt. I was also meditating on the idea of my cat Mr. Samadhi hunting when I made this, so that's all contributing contributes to the title and the vibe of the work. This piece is called We Are Nature. Of course, I painted around the edges like all the other ones, but this one has something special on the edges. I wrote some things on there, and I intentionally made it so that it fades in and out. There are little quotes and things about nature, like look inside, and we are, I am, here now. You can see it in there in white, and then we are nature in the tree, and then not I, not you. I also put a little crown there in the tree just to kind of represent how I think we should honor nature as much as we would honor anything that would be royal or anything that we would look up to in life. We need to honor nature because we are nature. And so through honoring nature, we're honoring ourselves. So I love that message. And this is the first painting that I've ever tried where I put writing in it. Part of me is ambivalent of whether or not I will put writing in a larger work. Because the thing is like my writing, I don't think is the best. I don't have this fancy script. I just kind of write on there and it looks kind of juvenile almost in the way that I write. Now that's actually a style. If you look at Basquiat and things like that, different artists in that genre, a lot of their writing is juvenile looking. It gets back to the primal, primitive nature of us. And so there's something really interesting about that and childlike and raw where you're just letting it come out. So I do like that. That's why I really like how this piece turned out, but I don't know, I'm still figuring it out, I guess, in my mind, like how I want to translate that into a larger work or if I want to make it into a larger work. After I created that one, I wanted to create a landscape that didn't have writing in it and it was just really more loose and very impressionistic, and so then I created this one. I think it's just so peaceful and beautiful, and it feels like it's this trail or path that you might want to just walk down and discover a part of this serene inside part of yourself that's also created and integrated with the outside world. So I love that. Of course, I signed it on the back. I also think, I signed this one on the front as well. The last one I want to show you is a work I created on paper, and so this one would be very affordable to ship internationally. I actually don't have a title for it yet. I'm still kind of working on that. I'm thinking about it, but I created this one in the early part of 2021, and this was my only experiment with creating a painting on paper. I've never painted on paper before. You'd think, I've been an artist for like over a decade, a professional artist selling my work, and you would think that I would have painted something on paper at some point, like when I practiced or anything, but I never did. And this paper is a fine art, heavy duty watercolor paper. So it's really nice. It doesn't crumple up or anything when you paint on it, which is good. But through all this experimentation, I discovered that, I don't like some things about working on paper. For one, I didn't tape the paper down, so it was like sliding all over the place as I was trying to paint on it. So then I was trying to like hold it down with one hand and then paint, and then my hand was getting in the paint and messing up the edges and stuff. So, one lesson learned is I need to tape this down if I'm gonna do that again. The other thing I didn't like about it is the way that I applied the paint. I don't know, the way I would brush it on there, it didn't feel the same as it does when it's applied to a canvas, because this is really flat and the canvas has ridges from the canvas texture, so I couldn't do some of the same effects and the paint applied differently. So since I've developed the skill of painting on canvas, I don't really feel like going back and relearning some of those skills on paper. I know it wouldn't take that long probably, but it's kind of frustrating when you know how to do something and you could get it to look a certain way if you did it on a canvas, but then when it's on a paper, it doesn't look quite the same. But I do really like how it turned out though, even so. In closing, if you're interested in purchasing any of these paintings, links are below in the description area. You can also just go to my website, KrystleCole.com, and check out all of the abstract paintings I have available in my original abstract section, which the link to that is also below. All right, well, thank you so much for watching. See you guys later.